I have a little Airbnb business in my house in which I rent out the rooms in order to contribute to the overall rent, contribute to the payment that is. And there was this tenant that I've had recently from China, well, originally told me Korea, but China, called Hewitt. Hewitt didn't speak a lot of English and it was hard to communicate with him, and we didn't really get along too well. He was somewhat feminine and a little bit strange in his demeanor, and it was not something that I liked very much. So I remained professional about it, but I didn't go out of my way to socialize with him. He left, and not too soon after he left, the same night actually, his wife came knocking on the door. His wife came and told us that Hewitt had disappeared without saying a word for a whole week. Obviously, that week he had been in the house, so he hadn't disappeared for us, but he had not responded to her messages and not left any traces. Now, what happened was Hewitt had actually left to go to China. That's right. He left the entire continent and not said a word to his wife. And I asked more questions, or rather, she just kept on unloading what was on her mind. And there's a few things that she told us, me and my brother, that is. Firstly, Hewitt doesn't work. I thought that he worked, or that he had a business, or I wasn't very sure. But it turns out that he was a student, and he, despite his appearance, he was 32. Yeah, 32. And I say despite his appearance because he was like one of these K-pop members with the dyed hair and the bowl cuts. But yeah, so very much to my surprise, he was a 32-year-old man. He, the wife is 21 years old, so there was a bit of a gap there between age. I don't know what kind of gap I'll have between me and my wife, so I'm not going to judge the gap age itself. I'd probably want somebody younger than me, I just don't know if it'll be that young. But his wife, being 21, was actually the breadwinner. She spoke English, unlike Hewitt, or at least to a certain extent, and she had a little business in London in which she put all the money into an account that Hewitt had control over. All the profit she made went directly into that account, no transition, just directly there. And that's what actually helped Hewitt live every day of his life. That was his life support, you could say. Uh, it was very weird because he told me, oh, I have a place in London, but I came here to get away from the noise. I just thought, okay, very strange, but a lot of these people that come abroad are loaded with money, so he probably has no notion of value, so whatever, I'm not going to get too involved in his private life. But it turns out that he was actually not really rich at all, he was just leeching off of his wife, which was greatly surprising. Then the wife said that he wasn't always like this. I said, why did you get with him? It's kind of strange to be with such a guy. And apparently he wasn't always like this. He started off very sweet, but eventually became distant and more strange. She told me that he didn't really have any friends here, which I thought, you know what, it makes sense. He wasn't the most charismatic person. But yeah, all things considered, and how... Look, I know it's somewhat inappropriate, but I thought she was very beautiful, his wife. And I thought that she was really feminine. She was actually my type. So I was hearing all of these things, and it made me a little bit furious. It made me think, wow, how is he so lucky, I was a bit envious, to be honest. And it was an ugly sight, yes. But I couldn't help it, at least until I did. Because it just kept getting worse. When we dropped off the lady at the train station, because it was dark outside, we couldn't let her go there herself. She told me that she was pregnant with Hewitt's baby. And I was just so... It was such an over the top, end to everything that I just thought, what is going on? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was thinking to myself, I was thinking of all types of curses towards her, like, you asshole, how can you do this to, like, your wife? She's pregnant, you leave her, you take her money. By the way, every day, this guy, he was eating lamb chops, and here in England, they're very expensive, especially the brand that he was buying, because I see them at the shop every time, and it's like a tray for £6, and he was eating that like it was nothing. He had a little heating thing in his room. He was a little bit spoiled, to be honest. And all of these things just made me think, wow, I, I want to take his wife away from him, I want to just steal her, put her in a bag. No, but I felt truly envious about it. I thought, I want a woman like this, that is so giving, so loving, so feminine. Just a shame that she got played. And then I also thought, well, I should put a little break into this. I have gotten myself worked up over a story that I decided to believe. But I've only heard one side of it, and this is very unlike me. I don't usually listen to one side and not consider the other possibility. And I hate it when people do that to me, when people listen to the other side of an argument without listening to my own reasoning. It's frustrating for anybody, to be misunderstood, to be put in a light which makes you look like the villain, where there might be things behind the scenes that are not quite right, or that are just a big blatant lie. So I thought, you know what? I'm sorry, Hewitt, for all the things that it did to you in my head. And it gave me good perspective. I think this is thanks to the meditation I've been practicing, to take a deep breath and not jump into conclusions. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to talk about not jumping into conclusions. I wanted to talk about listening to both sides of the story. But I do know that I put a very extreme title up there. But it was because that was my initial thought. I want to take his wife. Until she told me that she was pregnant, and then I thought, well, no way. But yeah, and then I thought about the opposites, about what could be lies. I thought about the fact that maybe she wasn't pregnant, maybe because she was feminine, but it came to the point where it was almost flirtatious. So that threw me off. You shouldn't go into another man's house and to kind of stay there, but she could have been through mental distress. Otherwise, a lot of things didn't click, so I thought, okay, I'm gonna chill. I'm sorry, Hewitt. But it is crazy still that Hewitt had a girlfriend, wife, whatever their relationship was, and left without saying anything. Left the country, left the continent. That was very funny. So hopefully Hewitt isn't as big as an asshole as his wife made him out to be. And hopefully things aren't as bad as they look, because she also said that Hewitt owed her, a lot of money. And she was younger and she did all this work, and he's 32. She didn't put it that way, but that's how I got it. It's like, damn, he needs to step up a little bit. But yeah, I just wanted to share this story. Very quick, I know. But yeah, just try and think about the other side of the argument. And don't jump to conclusions just because somebody pretty or somebody you like came to tell you about it first. Always listen to the other side, even if it's your family that comes to you first and then it's like the bad person. Listen to both sides, because there's always bias in how they say things. That's all I have for today. Strive to be 1% better every day. And yeah, much love.